On June 24th, 2017, Davin McClenney, a 29-year-old with an admitted but non-lethal and mostly traffic prior record, entered a 7-Eleven with a gun and a mask and demanded that two employees give him money from the register. They complied and put money in a plastic bag. But Davin then demanded more from a safe that was visible under the counter. One of the employees pulled a handgun from behind that counter, pointed it at Davin, and pulled the trigger. The gun malfunctioned, and the firearm did not fire. Davin immediately jumped towards the exit and tried to shoot back, but his firearm also malfunctioned. Neither of the 7-Eleven employees were struck or injured in any way, but the 7-Eleven employee was ultimately able to point and fire his weapon, and he shot Davin in the neck. The bullet remains lodged in Davin's spine between his C6th and C7th vertebrae to this very day. For months, Davin remained hospitalized with no ability to move anything. However, he eventually regained very limited movement in his arms and hands. Though he still had a tracheostomy, he was able to eat and stay wheelchair bound for a short period of time. However, his overall condition has now declined to the point where he is quadriplegic, permanently bedbound, on a feeding tube, a catheter, suffering from multiple life-threatening maladies that now present as fatal. Prior to his sentencing for this crime, 80 years with 15 years active prison time for robbery, use of firearm charges, and wearing a mask, Davin expressed his belief that he would ultimately die in prison as a consequence of his actions. He wanted to speak to troubled youth at a detention center. He said if he could just reach one of them, in the end, he'd done his job. Well, he has served over a year in prison, and before his condition deteriorated to its current level, he accomplished that task and actually did speak to some troubled youth in a local detention center. The court found that Davin was no longer a danger to the community as a result of his physical injuries. Due to the current COVID pandemic, Davin's family is not allowed to visit him to say goodbye, and due to his current and serious medical issues, he is wholly unable to participate in video or phone visits. His family is seeking medical clemency because it is reported Davin has less than 3 months to live. His family, including 3-year-old twins, a 7-year-old, a wife, and aging parents, humbly requests a clemency pardon for Davin prior to his death. And I'd like to read to you a letter that his father wrote to the governor of Virginia. And it goes like this. My name is David A. McClenney, and I am writing this for my son, Davin McClenney, because he cannot write for himself. He can no longer talk, sit up. He is now a quadriplegic who can do nothing for himself. If he falls on the floor in prison, which he has done, he has to lay there until someone comes around doing their chores. And the same thing, he has been to the bathroom on himself and had to lay there until someone came around doing their chores to help him. Sometimes he lays there 2 or 3 hours. When our son left home for prison, he was talking, eating, riding around in his electric wheelchair. Now he's confined to a bed because he's too weak to keep his eyes open. He's had 6 operations that we know about, 3 of them within the first 3 months of being in prison. But he was on the streets for 3 years before being sentenced, and not one operation. I could write a book, but I'm not. But the last reason he needs a pardon is because the prison doctor called me and told me that my son was deteriorating, and I need to get a lawyer to try and get to the governor to get my son a pardon. He's doing really bad. We're doing the best that we can, but he shouldn't even be in prison anymore. And those are the reasons that he should be pardoned. Signed, David A. McClenney, father of Davin McClenney. And Mr. McClenney, you did get a lawyer. I'm John A. Coggeshall. Everybody calls me Cog. This is my Cogcast. And if you watching this believe that Mr. McClenney deserves clemency, an urgent medical clemency, share this Cogcast with everyone you know, and even with someone you don't know, but spread the internet word everywhere, starting today. And Governor, if you get a chance to watch this, there are many people here who believe that Davin McClenney deserves a medical pardon to be home with his family during the last possibly 90 days of his life. I'll see you next time, and we'll talk about another pardon petitioner.